Hey everybody, welcome to the quick jumpstart guide for Cello Ibrida. This is just to get you started with this sample library. If you just started watching this video, please, and you don't know anything about the product, go to www.pulsetter.com or check out other videos in YouTube. This is just for people that are going to review it and or bought it, and it's kind of like a quick video manual, or for people that want to check it out some more. So it's basically a two-layer engine with a macro knob and a crossfader in the middle. This is an LFO section for the crossfade. There's no animation on the crossfade because you can skew it to more one side or the other one, so it's a little bit more flexible. First controls here are going to be very similar to what you encountered before. ADSR, the source information, it goes down by the pitch. You can see the pitch there. Low pass filter, and then this sequencer, a small sequencer section. You can either choose ARP or chord, and you have to turn it on if you need them. Gate, on the other hand, is based on audio, so it chops up the audio instead of being a MIDI sequencer. And also watch out when you use the gate, because sometimes some of the patches might have it like this, or you might not notice that it's down. But this is kind of like a velocity sort of volume knob, so watch out with the amount. It's the amount of how much this is going to affect the audio source, right? So if you have it down here, it means that it's not using it at all. So just keep an eye on that. Down here is the LFO, and it's one LFO and it's assignable. So the destination would be volume, pan, tune, or low pass filter. Different filter than this one, by the way. You can sync it up here. And amount, rate, shape, and destination. Same here on the other side. Middle section here is a crossfade. And then this is an LFO. You turn it on. To do the crossfade, you can use, we have it a CC11. Yep, you guessed it right. Here it is. And this is assignable. So if you rather use your CC1 or mod wheel, you change it to CC1. So they're all hard patch to crossfade to be expression. Now you notice these numbers here too as well. Those are also MIDI CC assignable. So 21, 16, 3, and 5. And those are the CC numbers that most composers use for vibrato and vibrato intensity, and 3 and 5, I forget what it is, but they're very common. This opens up this instrument to be a lot more about performance. So you have one sound and you can assign it to your controllers, and you make them vibrate and all of that. Then you have your macro control one, but you don't see a number here, right? Because it's assignable in the matrix section. And I'll get into this in a second, but it's here. This is a big knob right here in the front. Okay, I'm gonna go to the effects page. The effects. So each layer has its own effects chain. You select them here. It's algorithmic reverb, compressor, and amp. A quick word on amp. It's watch out, it's 3 different amp versions or amp models. But the fuzz is the distortion pedal. So if you have this too high and then you press fuzz and turn it on, for example, it gets really fucking loud. So big warning on that. Just watch out when you hit the fuzz. You can bypass the whole chain. And all of these effects are just for this page. They don't do anything with the main or the matrix. Filter, distortion, lo-fi have step sequencers. You turn it on here. Select which one you want. And it's per layer. So that's pretty cool. Now, we go to the Performance Matrix. These is based on one of those old matrix synthesizers, sort of like the Matrix Brute or old synthesizers where you assign a source and a destination sort of thing. The effects are already all turned on. Basically, they affect the whole instrument. They're different from these or these. So if you, for example, you select and change them up here, and these are always on if you want, right? So these are going to affect the instrument already. So right now you would hear them. So if you assign more to it and you assign it to macro knob 1, for example, you'll be able to hear more, a lot more of that effect. So the cool thing is that you can assign just one, the big macro knob, which is CC number 1, to either low pass filter, high pass, which obviously will create a pass, distortion, lo-fi, delay, convolution, chord, which is it duplicates the signal and converts it into a chord. My favorite is octave and augmented, and diminished 9, which is semitone, so it's a lot of tension. Detune is kind of like a synthesizer's detuner. It just duplicates the voice and detunes each voice a little bit. So it creates this sort of like thick chorusy sound. Now, default is number 1. It's in one voice because since I mentioned it duplicates the sound, means there are more voices on the instrument. So CPU-wise, it's going to get crazy. So that's that. Macro 2 is this macro knob, and it's assigned to CC2. You can change it if you want. But that's it. There's no other big knob or any sort of nothing else besides this knob. It's kind of hidden, and a few people that were testing it, didn't realize that it's just this knob. And the reason is that you can assign CC2, for example, to affect distortion only, and macro knob to affect convolution and delay. So the whole performance thing. Now, a trick that I use is to put it up a little bit and then assign a few things that I think will help out the actual snapshot or patch. So like delay, convolution, volume sometimes if its volume's too low. So that helps. Velocity, there's no button here, but the other ones do have it. Velocity is how hard you hit the keyboard. It will affect the assigned destination. So if I press too hard on the keyboard, like here, it will distort more, or the filter. So watch out that some effects are turned off. So if you want to hear them, you need to turn them on and change it a little bit, and then try it out. The different, assign parameters here. Convolution, reverb. The first section is real spaces, which is normal reverb, and then it's a whole bunch of sound design and then rhythmic stuff. If it has a little letter on it, it means that's a root tone of that IR. So watch out if you're doing anything that's melodic or harmonic content, because the notes might clash. Chord, what else? Okay, then there's 2 different envelope sequencers of 64 steps each. These are great to assign effects like this, for example, and you assign, I don't know, you want the signal to go from normal signal to get more distorted, and then come down. If you hit retrigger, it will do it again and again. After this is done, it will go back and loop. If you don't hit retrigger, if you leave it off, it will do it once, and that's it. Sync, obviously sync. Okay, so it's 2 different, and then you have randomize for each row, and then for the whole thing, we try to get it not to be so crazy, so that way it's more useful. But you know, hopefully those will work out in, you know, helping, you know, get new things going, and you can bypass the whole thing or reset it. Okay, the only last word is the what else? Oh, okay. So if you're using a sequence, watch out that if you turn it on and you do something like this, since these steps are based on velocity and this is affecting volume and velocity, this is very important to put all the way like around 80 or 90 if you want the sequencer to work. And if you're not using the step sequencer, then turn it down, back down. It's just a contact thing where it's, you know, it's fighting between this thing on the matrix and also this thing. So those two parameters are fighting with each other. So that's the way we got it to work. Okay, so this page is only this. This page is, affects both layers, right? So it's just both layers. And the only thing that you have to watch out with this page and other pages is this intersection between velocity and volume and the step sequencer. Now, it's 2 layers, and each layer you can load any of the 19 different categories of sound sources. So from scrapes, weird, modular, cello, legato, run through, sustain, run through, modular with tape, just a whole bunch of different things, pulses. So it's a combination of loops, multi-samples, and sound effects. So you can do horror stuff, you can do pads, you can do pulses, ARPs, and I'll show them later. So as I was saying, it's 2 layer, and each one you can load any of these samples. And then from all those samples, you can go here, and we made a whole bunch of snapshots to make a new patch, a new instrument, basically. So if you want to start from scratch, go to empty. So it clears it out. Okay, so we'll start with all the different controllers. Oh, and to load the snapshots, you go to wrench, instrument options, navigate to snapshot here, show, and then drag and drop to here to, you know, user content. It will open up over here, and then you just drag and drop it here, the Cello Ibrida, and then the split version. The same patches, it's just with a different layout on the keyboard. After that, you close it, hit wrench, and hit little exclamation point. Okay, so you load up. It's a lot of snapshots we created from a lot of sound sources. So sound sources. So all of them, don't forget to scroll down, and you can mix and match. And you can see the categories here: tremolo, pizzicato pads, spiccato cello. Are these same ones here in sound sources, right? But this way you can, you know, navigate through them already with the ADSR already set to the how you need it, because, you know, if you go to like, this is a loop, so right, so it will change based on the ADSR. So that was a pain in the ass to do, but, you know, more useful, because now it opens up to having all of these as just more snapshots. So if you just want, you know, more pads. Okay, So last thing about snapshots before I start with the engine. Last thing with snapshots is that it's and sound sources is that all of these are a mix of individual type of sound design or concepts. So, you know, the first five sections here are the sustains, just like one note, cello section that kind of like sustains and then goes into spiccato or pizzicato or tremolo and then goes back down. That sort of, they're evolving or textural sustain notes. And then we made organic loops, for example. These are loops, and they say loops here. So those loops, for example, are all made with just one. It's just one loop, and it's map spread. So it works here, but if you go way up the keyboard, it starts crapping out. So it's we based it. That's why it's only cellos. We deal more with a lower register. Well, not really because of that. It just sounded cooler down here. Okay, so, and you can see in the sound sources where it's plucks will be round robin and multi-sample, so they'll sound okay here. So we also have, most of it is, of course, cellos, but we also included some synthesizers. Like here, bass plugs. Yeah, and those were basically to add sort of the more of the texture, so sometimes you lose a little bit of the low end when you process a lot of the hybrid stuff. So I don't know, it just added a little bit more of something different, and it works out cool. If you hear the pulses, you get some. Okay, I couldn't. So those are just two different pulses. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, hope you enjoy it. See it as something very unique, different, trying to mix different set of techniques to create something very cool. It goes from stuff like that to more a little bit more pretty, but it's usually dark, sci-fi, more modern, very modern edge type of sounds. So again, if not obvious, we didn't do a sort of typical sample library of a cello sample library, even though we have things like this one's. Right, they're there. They're very useful to mix it up, but we go and do stuff like or ambient or horror stuff. Okay, so hopefully this will clear up a little few things on what it is, what it isn't. Really enjoy making these because the patches are very stuff that you can use in modern films or music library detective shows, the sci-fi stuff, even documentaries for the for So yeah, it's a mix of a whole bunch of things and sound design techniques. And by the way, there's several like pads, for example, in the sound sources. So wash pads, kind of Hans Zimmer-ish, synthesizer pads or regular synthesizer pads, granular pads with every fucking granular synth ever. A stretch pad is a different technique of doing pads. Tape mod is running it through a modular synthesizer and a cassette tape machine. And then scrapes is using my personal cello. Oh, by the way, this is not me playing the cello, it's only the scrapes. Because I have a crappy cello and it's great for sound design. This sort of like horror stuff, not for pretty stuff. So somebody else did the cellos, and we'll list them in the credits. Okay, that's about it. Thank you for watching just a quick start guide at 20 minutes of your time, just to check it out, what it is, what it isn't, and all the different controls. If I miss anything, just let us know. And thanks a lot.